Mtume's sense of sound obviously evolved with the beginning of the 80s, because this is when everybody started to use like drum programmers, synthesizers for keyboards and all of that stuff. But there was still a human element to those electronic instruments on an Mtume record every single time. And that's what made Mtume such a brilliant musician. I mean, this is a dude who played with Miles Davis, for crying out loud. So if anybody knew anything about improvisation, doing things a little left of center, Mtume would definitely be the one. What's going on, everybody? You're right on time for another ride on the Groove Line with your host, Chris Stevens. Hopefully you're doing well out there. Yes, this is Sunday, and I told you guys we rarely post stuff on Sundays, but because we missed a birthday on Saturday, we're going to do a two-parter, starting with this one today, and we are honoring the heavenly birthday of James Foreman, better known as James Mtume, or simply Mtume. He was born January 3rd, 1946 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, passed away January 9th, 2022, a week after his birthday. Wow. And he had just had an episode of Unsung, so people learned about Mtume as a artist, as a social justice, change agent, a brilliant musician, and somebody who did not take like sampling very well. Let's put it like that. But of course, his legend song is probably one of the most sampled pieces of music in history. So today, on part one of our Mtume special, we are going to count down the 5 best Mtume songs. Now, if you guys are not familiar, Mtume was his group, his band. I mean, obviously his name was Mtume, but he also decided to call, a group that he was putting together in the late 70s. It was him, Reggie Lucas, Hubert Eves, Tawatha Agee, one of the best singers that a lot of people tend to forget about, but she's been doing background vocals for Luther. She did background vocals for Luther forever and a day. And she was a part of Mtume. She even wrote stuff with him that, he would produce and put on records. And she was very much their lead vocalist and a damn good lead vocalist. So yes, top 5 Mtume joints. To the title track from their 1984 album, You, Me, and He. Now, mind you, love triangles and drama and love situations have been in music longer than any of us have been around. But that was probably the first time that you imagined, somebody saying something like you, me, and he. What we gonna do, baby? That type of dramatics on records is what really sells music for the most part, because people have been in relationship dramas forever. There's nothing new about, being in love with somebody when you're with somebody else, or knowing that the somebody else that you're somebody, but knowing, excuse me, the somebody that you are in love with is in love with somebody else. See, got me all tongue twisted because that's the natural, order of relationship drama. And You, Me, and He for 1984 was kind of a risky record because people weren't really saying it like that. A lot of people thought that was like, oh, wow, are they talking about a threesome? No, they're just talking about a love triangle. Your standard, push and pull. I want to be with that person, but I want to be with this person too. It's a lot, man. And those are the records that, sell the most because those are the records people can relate to. Remember what I said about Secret Lovers by Atlantic Starr? Same thing applies to You, Me, and He. And number 4, we're going to go back to You, Me, and He for You Are My Sunshine. And that is probably one of my favorite hooks ever because it's just so simple. You are my sunshine. Let it shine on me. It's one of those sweet R&B records from the mid 80s that starts to feel like, really computerized, but it still has some soul to it. And as we just talked about, love and love situations have been in music forever. And You Are My Sunshine. No, it's not, you are the sunshine of my life, but You Are My Sunshine. It still is a sweet sentiment, and Mtume is just telling this woman, just shine your sunshine on me. We got this great relationship going. Everything is bright. You are my sunshine. Now, number 3, this one is a record that does not get enough love as one of the best post-disco underground dance club bops of all time. This is So You Want to Be a Star. This was released in the summer of 1980 on the Mtume album, In Search of the Rainbow Seekers, with some very interesting cover art. As you can see here, it's a naked black dude morphed into a butterfly or morphing into a butterfly. I don't know what this cover art is about, but So You Want to Be a Star. And this is a Tawatha Agi masterclass when we talk about singing. When she talks about, you hanging out with all the freaks, you sipping Cavassier, but do you ever wonder, child, where you gonna go when your money's low, when the music stops? That is like an eulogy for disco, because everybody had fun during disco's halcyon years. The cocaine, the bathroom sex, and all of that stuff. But by the time the 80s came around, disco was a dirty word. It just went back underground, as we all know by now. But it just wasn't as massive as it was from like 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. So you had artists and people reflecting on what those 5 years were like. And you had people sort of, having this self-awareness that, we really kind of overdid it, with the culture, not with the music per se, but with the culture and the experience. So that's what So You Want to Be a Star is all about, is basically saying we did all of this foolishness, and now it's like, okay, what happens when the money is out? What happens when the music stops playing? And we have to go back to being regular human beings, even though we've been living, split personalities or alternative personalities through this whole disco thing. And so it's a bop, but it's a bop with a message. That's what makes So You Want to Be a Star so great. We go right back to the shenanigans for number 2 on this list, and it is from the 1983 album Juicy Fruit, which of course did give away what number 1 is going to be. But Would You Like to Fool Around? And this is a song about hooking up. It's as simple as that. It's basically Mtume and Tawatha going back and forth talking about, would you like to fool around? Would you like to fool? But if you listen to that record, and you're an R&B, electro, boogie, post-disco head from the early 80s, you'll think, that sounds kind of like a System record. Well, Mike Murphy and David Frank did play on this album. I don't know if they played on this track for certain, but Would You Like to Fool Around absolutely sounds like a System song. Would You Like to Fool Around is just a fun record about fooling around. It's like basically Mtume is approaching this woman from the perspective of, it's getting late. Please don't hesitate. You know, it's such a groove. Love the way we move. It's plain to see. Obviously, these are two people on a dance floor just having the time of their lives, and they're like, well, we don't want this to end. So yeah, we cutting it close on the dance floor. So why don't we go somewhere a little more private and maybe dance horizontally in the nude, just us two, fooling around. That could be, that's obviously what that record means, and it just has the beat is irresistible. Like there's this nice little keyboard stab that goes with the bass, and the guitar part. Like it is a fun record. Like Mtume's sense of sound obviously evolved with the beginning of the 80s, because this is when everybody started to use like drum programmers, synthesizers for keyboards and all of that stuff. But there was still a human element to those electronic instruments on an Mtume record every single time. And that's what made Mtume such a brilliant musician. I mean, this is a dude who played with Miles Davis, for crying out loud. So if anybody knew anything about improvisation, doing things a little left of center, Mtume would definitely be the one. And speaking of the one, it was obvious this one was going to be number 1. Juicy Fruit, one of the most sampled records in the history of music, not just black music, music period. So Mtume tells this great story on Unsung. If you haven't seen his Unsung episode, you got to find a way to go check it out. And he says the record company called him into the office and said, sir, what is this about? I can be your lollipop. You can lick me everywhere. And it's like, he's like, hey, what do you want me to do? And so they went ahead and put the record out. It was one of the most popular songs, black, white, pop, R&B, whatever, of 1983. And of course, with the genesis of hip hop and advanced samplers, like certain, keyboards like ASR 10s and all of that, people and Well, actually, you know what? People weren't using ASR10s in 1993. Let me take that back. People were still using the SP12s, SP1200. But the SP1200, you know, you had to be depth on it. You had to be really, you know, quick with your samples, quick with your keys, your fingers, and all of that. So it's still a very important instrument. But yeah, by the time Diddy and them came up with Bad Boy and had Biggie on, and Juicy turned out to be one of the biggest records of the 90s. And Mtume was salty about that because he didn't really get the credit or the you know, the money, because as far as recently as 2018, he was still trying to, you know, get royalty money back for that. And Juicy Fruit is a song you hear sampled on a regular basis. Even as recently as a few years ago, people are still, you know, using that little, you know, that drum tap. Like people are still using that. So I mean, his estate should be making bank. Hopefully, they're still working on that. But yeah, those are the 5 top Mtume songs. We'll come back later on, maybe later on Sunday or definitely Monday, with the top Mtume and Reggie Lucas songs that they produced for others. And that is a massive list, good people. That is a massive list. So we're looking forward to sharing that with y'all. So thank y'all for riding with us on this episode of the Groove Line. Greatly appreciate y'all as always. Contact information will be in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you can be notified of all the new videos that drop on this channel. And don't forget to like and comment on these videos because I do talk back in the comments. So what do you think? What's your favorite Mtume song? Is it any of these 5? Is it a different one? Let us know. So thank you guys for riding with us on the Groove Line. And until the next time we ride, may you find the groove or may the groove find you.